cutting through the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, heading back to Oklahoma City to dine in a very famous barbecue restaurant called Cattleman. That was an advice from different people. People at the hotel told me so, and people I met at the Cowboy Heritage Museum as well. Same advice, so we're gonna take that advice. So Tulsa, this is the second or third time I drive through the city in the past 2 days, is smaller than Oklahoma City. Smaller in size. I would say downtown also is smaller. They don't have as many tall buildings as Oklahoma does. It's a quiet city in a good way. And I'm looking forward to explore this city tomorrow after I come back from Oklahoma City. So we're going to Oklahoma City to have dinner, then drive back here tonight. But I am rushing between both cities because tomorrow is Christmas. A lot of places are closed that I want to check out, so that's why I love to rush. Let me look. It says west. Okay, I'm going this way actually. So I left in a rush to check the botanical gardens, which I just did before they close. This is the downtown of Tulsa. Looks beautiful. There will be one place to visit tomorrow in Tulsa that is open. It is called the Museum of Air and Space, something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but it has to do with planes, obviously. And that should be open tomorrow, not today. We will obviously call and double check. I have not yet picked a hotel to spend the night in Tulsa. Yesterday, I googled through and there is a few hotels that I was interested in, but I did not book yet, so that'll be another task to accomplish tonight. Maybe while I'm having dinner, I'll do that. Speed limit varies a lot on the highways here, between 55, 60, I have seen 70, and now 65. I've seen 75 and even 80. So 80 will be on the way towards Oklahoma, right in the middle of nowhere. It'll become 80, then back to 70 or 75. So that's very interesting. You need to watch your speed between both cities on the highway, which I believe it's Highway 44, if I'm not mistaken. That is the same highway that got me here from Missouri. Because for me to get here from Michigan, I had to drive through Missouri. Beautiful state. Probably most interesting scenery from Michigan to Oklahoma, I would say it's in Missouri. That, considering Michigan, then Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Missouri was that battle. Now, when you leave Oklahoma, right at the border before you get into Missouri, you are probably 3 miles away from Kansas, the state. So some of you, if you want to add another state to your list that you've been to or gone through, you can just make a small detour, go through Kansas. There is nothing much there in the southeast corner of Kansas, but it'll be interesting. I have driven through Kansas before on my way back from Colorado, also towards Michigan, where I live. Looks similar to Oklahoma. Very similar, I would say. Only Oklahoma has more hills than Kansas does. Kansas is very flat. But beside that, it would look the same. We will go to Kansas one day. They have 3 major cities. Kansas City, which is actually the major part of Kansas City is in Missouri. So we can do Kansas City, Topeka, which is the capital, if I'm not mistaken, of Kansas. Small town. I almost got a job in Topeka before. A few years back. It didn't go through. On my way back from Colorado, I actually drove through Topeka and I made sure to visit that place where I almost got the job because I was very interested. They were serving the elderly. The place was called, I think, Kansas Association for, I'm not sure what the rest is. It's called KAMU, K-A-M-U. Unfortunately, the place was out of business. So I was just outside the building, took a picture and kept going. And the third city that is a major city in Kansas would be Wichita, which is about 4 hours north from Oklahoma City. I considered going back home, driving through Kansas, so going through Wichita, then Kansas City, then all the way to Michigan, but that would add at least 4 hours to my drive, and no, actually less. I think 2 hours if I don't make any stops to check out downtowns or anything like that. But we're not going to do that this trip. We're just heading home tomorrow. Tomorrow is Christmas of 2020. I have some plans for the weekend because Christmas is on a Friday, followed by the weekend, which is a very long weekend. That's a good thing. And then from there, we go back to work next week. I miss work. I honestly do. And I miss my colleagues. I miss my clients that I work with. I work with children with special needs. Those are my clients. One of them is really getting tall. So I haven't seen him in 8 days, and I won't see him in another 7. So that's 15 days. I'm sure he will look different, slightly taller. God bless. He's 14-year-old. And now we have less civilization as we drive through. It's more country. It's gonna get more country, where you absolutely see nothing but cars, trucks, and some cattle. Maybe in another 10 miles from here. But I'm not complaining. I don't mind the scenery when it's plain. I like the desert, generally speaking. It is not as awesome as driving through the mountains of Colorado, which is the Rockies, or driving through the Smokies in eastern Tennessee. I'm sorry, western Tennessee, and the Appalachian in eastern Tennessee. But still, for me, I'm a guy who loves the desert. I'm originally from the desert. I was born in Iraq 30 years ago, and I left when I was 7. So it's in my blood. Even the mountains, I love the mountains, but I prefer the mountains that are barren, that has no green in it. That's why Colorado Springs was awesome. The mountains of Tennessee, West Virginia, and Kentucky are great, but they're green, and I prefer just barren mountains. See, now the speed limit is 80. Picked up really quick. Police are in action over there. I watch Cops PD, Live PD on YouTube frequently, and I came to conclusion that the cops of Oklahoma are probably the politest, or one of the politest, along the cops of Arizona and Montana, I would say. I think in the less populous states, they have less crimes. People tend to know each other, therefore maybe the attitude that the individuals give to the police officers are not as bad as in the crowded cities, and therefore police officers are more friendly. It's very simple human interaction after all. I don't want to be pulled over by a cop. I mean, it would be fun if we talked and we shared some experience, considering I'm 1,000 miles away from home. But definitely I don't want to get a ticket. Especially in a different state. I don't know what their rules are. I don't want to attend a court date that is 1,200 miles away, if that is the case. Surprisingly, I would say, Oklahoma has lots of small bodies of water, whether it's natural or man-made. They have lakes. I've seen it. I might go to a lake before dinner tonight that is on the western side of Oklahoma City. I think they have a small dam there that I would like to see, which I hope is open for people to see. We'll find out in an hour and 30 minutes. Speed limit is again 80, and people are barely, I'm doing 75. So I respect that the people who respect the law. If you want to make it on time, make sure you leave early. That is what I always say. Even the guy with the pony speedster, that Mustang, he's not speeding. I think it has a V6. I didn't hear the rumbling sound of a 5.0 or a 5.4. I'm not too crazy about Mustangs. I'm actually not too crazy about vehicles that are, sport vehicles. I had a Charger. I was not too crazy about it. I never raced. Couldn't care less for racing. I've raced in this old truck, Chevy Silverado, more than I did with my Charger. I only like classic cars when it comes to speed. I like the SS Chevelle. I like the Cutlass. the Challenger, all from the late 60s, early 70s, obviously. Chargers are nice. Not too crazy about Mustangs or Camaros from that era. Or even Corvettes. The GTO, nice vehicle. Roadrunner, obviously. Another interesting thing about Oklahoma, although it's cold, it's about 45 degrees outside, they still can see the sun, which is a blessing. In Michigan, sometimes you don't see the sun for days continuously. Most of the winter you barely see the sun. I've been here, this is my second day in Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, and the sun is always there, which is something that brings peace. Although it's cold, I don't mind it. Just sunny, that makes a difference. This thing was tempting when I drove through Tulsa towards Oklahoma yesterday. I just wanted to go uphill and see how far my truck can make it, which is not a lot. She has over 300,000 miles on engine, over 80 on transmission. It's a two-wheel drive too, so that would be unwise. Beside the legality of the situation. A lot of people look at me because I have a Michigan license and I'm in Oklahoma. People generally wouldn't drive all the way here from Michigan. My truck has a special golden color, and it says, I don't know if you could see it, probably can't, but it says Goldie on the back of the truck. That's the name of the truck, so it makes it very special. I get a lot of looks, a thumbs up, which is something I like. The gentleman on my left, he's about to pass me, has a Wisconsin license plates. Wisconsin can be a further drive than Michigan. Slightly. I mean, this is just the top of my head. I could be wrong. But if we compare the major cities, Detroit versus Milwaukee, I would assume Milwaukee is slightly further from Oklahoma City. Although if you look at the map, it's a straight shot. But I think it's further because Wisconsin is further north than the populous parts of Michigan. I mean, we know the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, it's further north than Wisconsin itself, but there isn't many people who live there. So usually, look at the cattle. So when we usually compare Michigan, we consider the southern part of Michigan, the populous part, because 80% of the population is there in that lower half. Detroit is our largest city. It's not the capital as people think. Lansing is our capital, which is 90 minutes northwest from Detroit. Small, cozy town. It's very small. Lansing, I would say it's in the top 10 largest cities we have in Michigan. Not even top 5 though. It's a college town for Michigan State. They have a good team called, Michigan State. It's a football team. They have rivalry with Michigan. That's another team from Ann Arbor. And another big rivalry with Ohio State. So Michigan State, Ohio State, big games. Ohio has had the upper hand in the past 18 years, I believe. They keep beating us. I was actually gonna watch the game between Michigan State and Ohio State a few weeks back in Ohio. I was gonna attend a party and watch Michigan State probably lose to Ohio State, but the game was canceled, unfortunately, due to COVID concerns, and therefore I did not go to Ohio. Me and my friends from Ohio were bummed. They probably were more bummed than I was because they wanted to trash me so bad, as I was the only guy from Michigan attending the game and that party, and they were looking forward to see my team lose and make fun of me, and that would have been a fun night to hang out with friends, play some games, but that did not happen. Hopefully in the future. So when this thing is over and it becomes part of our past. Driving and looking at the sun behind the clouds is just marvelous. Speed limit is 75 now. It changes frequently, as I mentioned. We're doing 78, nothing too crazy. Turn off the video for now because there's a lot of repetition on the road, and once we get closer to Oklahoma we'll have another video. If we make it to that lake with the dam, I forgot the name unfortunately, I'm definitely going to share a video. If not, I want to make sure I have dinner at Cattleman, as I mentioned, a very famous barbecue place in Oklahoma. And actually, I spoke with somebody before I hang up with you guys. I spoke with somebody online from Oklahoma, and I spoke yesterday with her, and she invited me to Christmas Eve tonight as a friend. I think that is Southern hospitality. We're total strangers, but we spoke briefly, and I told her I'm out of town, and she invited me. I will obviously text her and confirm if that is still a go-go deal. That would be interesting if I could share some pictures, because it's her house, her rules, obviously. She has kids. Until then, be safe, and talk to you soon.